Welcome back. This is part 4. And so what we need to do now is simply key the background to turn it transparent. But we don't want to do that on just this one image. We want to do that on each and every frame that we have here. And we want to keep that alpha channel for every frame individually. Each frame will have its own alpha channel. Now we don't do that in an animated fashion on the main image here, but we do that in the custom brush. So what you can do is you can go and pick this entire image sequence as a custom brush, just like this. You can normally go to the custom brush selection tool here, click that, and as you probably know, you can usually use that just to pick up a single image like so. Click that, and you now have, if I show the preview right here, you now have that in your custom brush. But just this one image, you can make it fully opaque like so, and you can paint with that, but it's just this one image. And what I really want to do is do that for the entire image sequence across the animation. So what I'll do is exactly the same thing, but this time I will go and select, make sure that you are on the first frame that you want to capture from, and that might be your first frame. There it is. And then you'll go and select the portion you want. It might be the entire image frame there. But before you let go, right, before you make this selection, press and hold the Alt key. So with the Alt key down, let go of the mouse, and now your selection is being scanned. The entire image sequence of that movie is going into the brush, and so it's now captured not just this one image, but the entire image sequence all the way to the end. Now, if you notice, it's difficult to tell that it did that because after all, you're just looking at one image here. But if you paint with it, you can see that it's animated. You can see that it's actually cycling through the frames of the animation. And another place where you can do that is you can go to brush and store your custom brush, store and manage a copy of it, and you can check on the film strip right there, show film strip. And so when you do that, you'll see indeed that you have a very long image sequence here with all the frames of this movie clip. Don't need to see this anymore. Let's go hide the film clip. But that's basically what we have here. Now, this is not quite done yet. We need the sky to be transparent. So we need to color key on blue. So the way we do that is we will now work with the custom brush tool. We don't do this on this area anymore. We'll do that in the custom brush. So what we'll do is we'll select the custom brush tool again, but this time instead of picking the left with the left button, we'll right click on that custom brush selection tool. And what it will do is it will show you your current custom brush, not this one necessarily that you stored, but it happens to be the same right now, but it's whatever your custom brush is, it will show you here. And you have a color picker that appears in the preview, so use that to identify the parts that you want to make transparent. Now this may take a little while, because every time that you let go, it's going through each of these frames to turn all of them transparent, to color key them all the same way based on that color that you pick. And you see that the sky has a little bit of white clouds here, so the blue is not always enough to actually make the clouds transparent. So you're going to have to do something a little bit in between the white and the blue. Get something where the white is almost transparent and the blue is almost transparent, perhaps somewhere in between, and then go and adjust the high pass and the low clip a little bit. Give it a little bit less or a little bit more on the high pass, and then allow the low clip to also follow. And that will possibly get you better results. See, now if you're going here, you're barely going to see the sky turn white. You still might see that a little bit, and that's where it really pays to have better blue skies. Wait for a day when you don't have clouds in there, and then that way you can expect the blue skies to really be blue, no matter what part of it you look at here. So that would be one way to turn the background somewhat more transparent and have the foreground, the tree, be opaque and only that part be opaque. So now once you've done that, you can close that, but you want to store that because the change we just made was not on this stored copy, it was on the currently active custom brush. So you want to make sure you store that one again, and now here you see it side by side. This one still shows the blue sky with the clouds, and this one shows the plaid pattern, indicating that we've got transparency now. Now mind you, again, it's not necessarily perfect, but we do have some way to work with that, and we may need to also do a little bit more work. Yeah, we have a lot of white edges along that. And how do we get rid of those? Well, we can do the following thing here. We can go to the brush and run pre-multiply. And when we do that, you can indicate what parts you want to eliminate. In this case, the white. It's not exactly white, but it'll be good enough to get rid of that to some extent. So it's a little bit better, not perfect. It really depends also on how much fluff you gave it there when you did this selection, right? How much low clip, high pass you did there. So it might just have too much of that fluff to eliminate it all. Anyway, that gives you some idea of how to work with that. And in the best world, what you'll have is a truly blue background, and from something like a blue sky with no clouds, and then your selection will be quite a bit easier. And then also the pre-multiply will be easier, especially if you actually, instead of pre-multiplying to white, what we ought to do is select one of those colors we have in the background. So let's do that. Let's go to pick with the color picker here. Let's go pick this color that's somewhere in the blue-white range. That's probably a good one to use, and that way that's our primary color or secondary color. Looks like we got about the same here, and so now I'll select this brush and I'll go and do my pre-multiply, and this time I'll say let's use the primary color. I think is where I had it, so that might be even better. Right, now you'll still have a little bit there because that one was just too extreme to process it all, but it's usable, especially if this this tree is going to be shown against the background, and that's what we'll do now against the background in which we do actually have kind of similar colors, blue and whitish clouds and so on. So it's not going to be too disturbing or standing out of it. So what I'll do is I'll store that brush here, and then I'll start using that in another animation. The original I don't need anymore. This one I don't need anymore. I'm going to work with just this one here. And let's say we now clear or free the animation. The main animation is gone. And we will go and create a new image. This one will be a 640 by 640 square, or maybe a wide angle. Let's do something like this here. And let's go and turn that into an animation as well. Let's say this is going to be a short one of just 99 frames. But we will want to have some skies there, so let's say we want, or maybe some mountains too. So let's do a couple of things here. First of all, let's do some rendering of plasma noise. There you go, make it a little bit smaller, and then filter, adjust the curves. Right, we've done this so many times in the prior tutorials. And we'll do then, let's disable the preview for a second here so we don't see the palm tree. But let's go now and turn this into a 3D object. So let's first animate that across. So we have it across there with what did we say, 90? Let's give it 90 frames, and then create a terrain with the timeline. So it's going to go and create a terrain across the entire timeline. So that's going to be the filter 1, 2, 3 down on 3D Designer, and let's go down a little bit like so. Let's make it wide angle. Let's put it back a little bit like so, more an angle like this, and oh, I don't know, there's so many other things that we may need to do here to make it look really perfect. Let's just keep it like that. And in fact, you know what? Let's say we want to have a little bit of a, I don't know, zooming in, or maybe a side motion like this. Right, we go from side to side. Let's say from about here, a little bit down as well. There you go. Make that the beginning, and then at the end of the movement of the movie here, we'll just move to the other side, and we can probably move down a little bit too. There. All right, so keyframe that, and now we do apply that. So we do a transition from one end to the other. And let's say we want to have actually a palm tree that's going to be in the front, but we don't want to see it all over, only seen during parts of the animation. So that could be a typical scenario where we use the where is it, the brush keyframer. And so in the brush keyframer, we can still see our custom brush with the palm tree. Maybe initially the tree is all the way on the left side, and then as we move across to the right, we should see that palm tree go across here. So that's one very simple type of animation we can do. Let's go keyframe it, one keyframe here, and then maybe around here is where the palm tree is going to start becoming visible, like so. And then all the way to here, the palm tree needs to appear on the other side. Keyframe that, and then then we don't really care. Somewhere after this here, it's going to disappear. Let's move it even further out. Keyframe that, reduce the opacity to 0 so it's fully transparent, and render that. So now we have essentially the palm tree going from right to left just the same. And we can do that. You can use that palm tree in many other ways. Let's see just one final example. What we'll do here now instead is let's do something totally different here. We'll do the sky filter. Let's use a sky filter here under the render menu, sky. And this time we'll use that just the default settings, but we will animate the sky so that it moves sideways just a tiny little bit, or not at all. Keep it at 0, but we'll make it move fast forward to us, and then also make it change shape pretty quickly. And so we now have the sky flying towards us, so to speak, or flying out. We're flying in towards the horizon. But then again, maybe not. Maybe we're not flying. Maybe it's just the wind that's blowing these clouds really fast. And that's really the idea here, is that I want to have the palm tree in front of it here. So let's go and maybe again use the brush keyframer for that. Brush keyframer. There you go. And put the palm tree right here in front and render that. Where is my render button? There it is. And you can see it's going through it 2 or 3 times. Maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller now and put another instance of that tree. It's going to appear at a farther distance. In fact, we should probably make them first far away, like so, and render that. Right, and then the next one should be bigger and in front, so we can have it cover up partly what the far ones are showing us. So let's do this and render that. There you go. And then maybe one more big, really the full size coming through here, and render that one. And then no, nothing stops us. We can certainly go one more, perhaps where we just see the trunk or just the bottom part of the tree still visible. So we can make this really big, and as long as we are able to see not too many of the pixelated details. Let's see, maybe something like so. All right, and render that. And that summarizes it. That basically shows us now how we have rendered this palm tree over a different scene after turning it somewhat as an asset with transparent background. And so here's the final video that we just created. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Zoom it up. And there you go. And of course, this would never be finished until we have a nice little sunset. So let's do a couple of things here. Let's give it some photographic post work here for day for night that usually make it a little bit darker. And then the next thing we can do also is a sunset filter that gives it a nice amount of, let's see, some reddish tint, a little bit darker on that. Apply that. And then, of course, most importantly, we need to add some animated lens flares, or sunset at least here. Let's go to the lens flare module. And in the lens flare module, we can go and show those lens flares. Let's give ourselves a nice... oops, that's not the lens flare I want here this time. Let's go undo that. We need to see the lens flare here. Here's the preview. Let's go see what that looks like. One of these will give us a nice sunset. There you go. And we'll make it a very fast sunset. So we'll go sunset drop here, right? So we'll go to the first frame, keyframe it like so, maybe a little bit brighter. There, and then go to the last, no, not the last frame, but make it go down and reduce the brightness. And then stay there but reduce the brightness altogether. All right. Oh, that would be at not here. Excuse me. That would be at the very end. And reduce the brightness there. Bring it down. So many other things. You can grab these handles to change where along the timeline they are and apply. All right. So, oops, I didn't capture that. I should have moved that in, but you get the idea. This is how you do that. Grab the handle here, move it aside as to where the sun is going to be seen, and that's it. So thanks for watching. I hope this was another useful little tutorial to give you some ideas of how to work with assets that you can build from regular digital photography and video. Some of this you can do with your smartphone nowadays quite easily at high definition, and you just need to hope that you have a nice blue sky background to do that, the color keying, and we'll be in good shape.